As philosopher Biggie Smalls said, "Mo money, mo problems."
The more money you make, the more problems you get.
So let's look at 16 rappers who tried to solve that dilemma by losing all their money in the worst ways possible. Number 16. 6ix9ine. Our first rapper, Tekashi 6ix9ine, started out releasing his raps on SoundCloud. He didn't exactly get critical acclaim, but he had loads of fans, and a lot of money came with it. At his peak, 6ix9ine had at least $8 million.
That's a half a ticket right there.
And he spent it as flashily as he could on extravagant cars, jewelry, and grills. He even dropped $2 million on a McLaren P1. His custom jewelry collection included a platinum My Little Pony chain, encrusted with diamonds and topped with his own hair, supposedly worth $750 grand. But 6ix9ine was caught up in all sorts of gang activity. In 2018, he got arrested on charges that could have seen him locked up until he was 69 years old. So he cut a plea deal and testified against the other members of his gang. His sentence was cut from 47 years to just 2. With 6ix9ine in jail, then house arrest for 2 years, the money stopped coming. And snitches get their sentences seriously reduced may be true, but it doesn't rhyme. 6ix9ine made some enemies, including fellow rappers Jim Jones and Cardi B, who he outed as gang members. 6ix9ine says he got held up by his former gang associates who stole his jewelry, including that 27-carat My Little Pony chain. Then in 2023, he got jumped in the locker room of an LA Fitness and had to get rushed to the hospital. Now that he's free, 6ix9ine is performing again. He collaborated with Nicki Minaj on a #1 hit. According to sources, his actual net worth is around $500,000 at the moment, which, if you think about it, it's not enough to buy any of the crazy chains and grills he's addicted to. He's no millionaire anymore, although he totally claims to be on social media. Unlike our next guy, who apparently learned the lesson. Number 15. Scott Storch. Scott rose even higher and fell even faster. Hip-hop producer Scott Storch worked with artists like Jay-Z, Kanye West, Justin Timberlake, and Beyonce. He stacked up $100 million, but in just 3 years, he'd spent 70 of it.
My monthly overhead for my household and household employees was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million a month I was spending.
Storch collected fancy cars until he had 30 of them. He bought a mansion for $10.5 million. Then he dropped $20 million on a 7-bedroom yacht, because I guess his house was full of cars and he needed somewhere to sleep. But his most expensive habit was drugs. And it got so bad, he was getting high instead of working. In 2009, Scott Storch filed for bankruptcy. His mansion went up for auction and got bought by Birdman. We'll get to him later in the video. Storch was arrested a few times and filed for bankruptcy again in 2015. As of 2023, he's working again, but doesn't live like royalty anymore. His net worth is a modest $250,000. He could probably give some business advice to our next rappers, if they take it. Number 14. The Island Boys. The Island Boys are Floridian twins who go by the names Kodiak Red and Fly Soulja. These goofballs got famous in the far-off past of 2021 with their song, "I'm an Island Boy."
I'm an island boy, and I've been trying to make. Oh, I'm an island boy.
It was really more of a viral meme than a song, but the video of them rapping in a hot tub got 9 million views before they deleted it. Of course, before they did, Kevin Hart and Snoop had something to say.
I'm an island boy, and I've been trying to make. Oh, I'm an island boy.
I'm speechless. Two goofballs in the pool.
You know why I'm not speechless?
Why?
Because I'm an island.
Later, however, they turned it into a proper music video. Since then, they've been recording more, songs and getting into feuds with various celebrities like YouTuber Logan Paul. Different sources have estimated their net worth at $700,000, up to as much as $2 million. But in a recent interview, their former manager suggested the Island Boys are completely broke and they owe him $150 $100,000.
They owe me about like $150,000.
From what? Your percentage of the cameo money?
Yeah.
Is that the only money they're bringing in?
Mostly, maybe a little bit on TikTok, but I mean, it's pretty much run dry at this point.
Where'd the money go? Well, if they own all the cars they drive in their videos, that's almost $1 million right there. The Island Boys are still pretty young. They've got lots of time to make money. Or crash and burn. Or both. Just like our next rapper on the list. Number 13, Fat Joe. Fat Joe has been there and done that, and wants to pass on what he learned. He was one of the first East Coast rappers to go solo, hitting it big with Flo Joe in '93. The money went out as fast as it came in. He says, "I took private planes like it was a taxi cab."
The most money I ever lost was flying private planes.
He denied rumors that he owed unpaid taxes to the IRS. But in 2010, Fat Joe had made over $3 million in 2 years, and the IRS came after him for an unpaid tax bill of over $700,000. He paid up, but ended up going to prison for 4 months. You'd think Fat Joe would start doing things differently, but 6 years later, the IRS came after him again, saying he'd skipped out on paying another $1 million.
Woody would have got $1 million, man. His eyes would have, you think $1 million, that's it.
At least he's got a sense of humor about it.
I'm happy to see y'all looking great, y'all shining. Be sure to know, the IRS see you shining too.
Today, Fat Joe's built his network back up to about $6 million. He tries to give young musicians the advice he didn't get coming up.
I do this every day on a daily basis. If I'm in the studio and the other top young rappers there, I sit down with them for an hour. And I let them know, yo, chill, this and this and that.
You see, they don't teach you how to do your taxes in rap school. Come to think of it, they never covered that in YouTube school either. Excuse me, I gotta check something. Whew, okay, where were we? Number 12, Ja Rule. Since his debut in 1999, Ja Rule won 4 Grammys and sold over 30 million records. Ja Rule was involved in a violent feud with Murder Inc. and got arrested on a weapons charge in 2007. Then in 2010, he got arrested again for trying to get a gun illegally. This time, he went to jail for 2 years. And while Ja Rule was beefing with other rappers, guess what he wasn't doing? Paying taxes. While he was on trial, it came out that Ja Rule owed $1 million in taxes. When they let Ja Rule out of prison for the weapon charge, they took him straight to state prison to do 6 more months for tax evasion. After that, Ja Rule helped run an ambitious music festival you might have heard of, the Fyre Festival. In 2017, 500 people went to a Caribbean island expecting the music show of a lifetime. But the show didn't happen, and the guests ended up sleeping in disaster relief tents. Ja Rule's co-organizer got convicted of fraud. People who'd gone to the festival sued Ja Rule for $100 million. But that suit got thrown out because the judge said, basically, they couldn't prove it was Ja Rule's fault they'd bought tickets. So Ja Rule made it out of that one without losing everything. Today, he's got about $4 million. Did he learn anything from the Fyre Festival? We'll see. Last year, he launched his new business, an NFT platform. But speaking of fraud, number 11, Tyga. Even if you don't know your rappers, you might recognize Tyga as Kylie Jenner's boyfriend on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It turned out Tyga couldn't keep up. So he just kept buying new stuff instead of paying for his old stuff. In 2016, Tyga got hit for $1.3 million for not paying the rental on a Lamborghini and a Bentley. So, he bought himself a Ferrari and a Rolls Royce, but he didn't pay for those either, and they got repossessed. He got sued by a landlord for skipping a year's worth of rent, and he got sued by a jeweler for over $1 million in jewelry he borrowed without paying. At this point, you wonder if Tyga's even heard of bills, or if he just thinks lawsuits are how people pay for things. Tyga's reportedly worth about $7 million today, though he seems to spend money as fast as he makes it. Will he ever get ahead of his payments? He just bought his new girlfriend, Avril Lavigne, an $80,000 necklace, so probably not. But Tyga's definitely not the biggest rapper to show up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That honor goes to number 10, Kanye West. Kanye West, who goes by Ye now, has the honor of being the rapper on the list who lost the most money. Since the 2000s, Ye has been one of the most successful and influential artists alive. In 2022, Ye was the richest rapper in the world, with a net worth of $2 billion, with a B. Although Ye might disagree with that math.
Now you're a $1 billion man walking around the streets. 10 billion, sorry. Missed a couple numbers.
Back in 2016, though he tweeted asking Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion for his projects, since he was $52 million in debt, personally. I guess with Kanye, you never know. He definitely has a history of unpredictable behavior, going back to the beginning of his career. In 2020, he decided to run for president. Since then, a lot of people think he's gone off the deep end. He started aligning himself with Donald Trump, which alienated a lot of fans. Then he started hanging out with anti-Semites and conspiracy nuts, which made him positively toxic. A lot of the companies he'd partnered with ran for the exits. When Adidas yanked its deal with Ye, that wiped out $1.5 billion off his net worth at once. As of 2023, Ye still has about $500 million to his name. So he's fabulously wealthy, but he has a lot farther left to fall if his reputation doesn't cover. For our next rapper, let's go back to something smaller scale. Number 9, Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim's debut album went double platinum in 1996. She proved a woman could be a rap star and not just a dancer in other rappers' videos. In 2002, Lil' Kim bought a mansion in New Jersey for $2.3 million. But then she ran into trouble with the law, and the money slowed down. Lil' Kim was in over her head. She owed over $1 million in taxes and $650,000 on her house. Keeping up with that house and her career, Lil' Kim was spending $2,000 a month on staff, $2,000 on wardrobe, and a whopping $10,000 a month on travel expenses. All those bills, and she was only making $18,000 a month. To stop creditors from taking her house, Lil' Kim filed for bankruptcy. She had to reorganize her finances. In 2019, Lil' Kim said she'd finally gotten things under control, and she withdrew her bankruptcy claim. Today, she only has $500,000 to her name. That's peanuts for a superstar rapper. But you know what? She kept the house, and she's doing better than our next guy. Number 8, Trick Daddy. Trick Daddy came out of Miami in the late 90s. His career took off, and at his peak, he was worth about $6 million. But in the 2010s, the tricks weren't coming as fast as they used to. Trick Daddy released his last mixtape back in 2012. His expenses started catching up with him. Trick Daddy kept going bankrupt, falling behind on his payment plans, and going bankrupt again. In bankruptcy number 3 in 2017, he filed to stop creditors from taking his house. He said he had no cash, nothing in the bank, but he owed $57,000 in child support, $280,000 on the house, and even more in back taxes. Bankruptcy number 4 was in 2022. This time, he was $100,000 underwater on his house and $800,000 in debt overall, with nothing in the bank. Since that bankruptcy, Trick Daddy is scraping by with a net worth of about $150,000. Some people can't seem to turn it around. Could our next rapper? Number 7, Lil Bibby. He released his mixtape in 2013 and started getting buzz while he was still in high school. Now that he was a rapper, he started spending money like he thought he was supposed to. It got to where he was spending $7,000 a month just on clothes to keep up with the Joneses.
And I'm like, man, I'm spending about $6-7 grand at least.
Eventually, fellow rapper Kevin Gates took Lil Bibby aside and explained that this was crazy. Lil Bibby learned that by wearing clothes more than once sometimes, he could keep his monthly clothing budget in the low triple digits. Lil Bibby retired from rapping at the ripe old age of 23 to start his own label with his brother. He also started investing in real estate. Now he says, I like to make people a lot of money. I got enough knowledge and I've studied this rap stuff, and I got enough relationships to help an artist, help his family. I get a kick out of it because I see how the label does it and my situation. I feel like just helping people.
So I'm only doing this to promote my company, my artists. So, you know, that's what I do it for.
Today, he's got about 10 million to his name. But things could have got a lot worse for Lil Bibby if he hadn't learned to manage his money better. And let's hope he stays out of trouble. Unlike number 6, Da Brat, Shantae Harris, better known as Da Brat. In 1994, her album Functified was the first album by a solo female rapper to sell 1 million copies. She had a great career, working with Lil Kim, Mariah Carey, Destiny's Child, and more. But in 2007, Da Brat was at a Halloween party at a nightclub when she got into it with a waitress. And by got into it, I mean she whacked the waitress in the head with a glass bottle. That's more than a party foul. Da Brat spent almost 2 years in jail for assault. When she got out, the waitress sued her and won $6.5 million. This is where Da Brat filed for bankruptcy. She told a judge she didn't have $6 million to pay the lawsuit. She didn't even have $1 million. She had $100,000 and owed almost $8 million. A few years later, Da Brat seemed to be doing all right. She came out as bisexual and married businesswoman Jessica Dupart. Da Brat's net worth is currently around $3 million. Maybe her wife can give her investment tips so she doesn't have the same problems as our next rapper. Number 5, Birdman. Byron Birdman Williams co-founded Cash Money Records in 1992, and in the 2010s, Forbes magazine called him one of the 5 richest rappers with over $110 million. But when you have that kind of money, everyone wants you to invest in their next thing. And not every rapper knows how to pick a winner. In early 2010, Birdman announced he was starting an oil drilling business. He even got an oil pump jack tattooed on his head to celebrate. But by that March, he'd covered up that tattoo, and the company was nowhere to be found. Then Birdman took out a $12 million loan to start a vodka company. But in 2017, the lender sued him and said he'd use the money to pay his other bills instead of making vodka. That lender ended up taking Birdman's house, the house he bought from Scott Storch, and everything in it, even his platinum records. Birdman had to go back to court to stop them from taking the royalties from his music too. Despite all that though, he's currently sitting on a net worth of $160 million. Our next rapper also made some questionable investments, but could he recover? Number 4, T-Pain. In the 2000s, T-Pain and his auto-tune voice were absolutely everywhere. He was putting out hits of his own. He went platinum alongside Flo Rida. He was on a boat with The Lonely Island. And as we've seen with all our stories so far, once the good times start, they never stop, right?
Everybody before me that I had to look up to, they were just like, no, this is great. Once you start rapping, it's just money all the time. Nothing bad's ever gonna happen. Your family's not gonna come after you. Just rap, and it's just girls and swimming pools after this.
T-Pain made about $40 million, but he wasn't even counting it before he spent it. He spent $2 million at once on a Bugatti, and he started investing in real estate, buying broken down houses so he can fix them up and flip them. Because in 2007, real estate was another party where the good times were never going to stop.
I think this is the most significant financial crisis in the post-war period.
All right, the Great Recession. All that money in real estate was as good as gone. T-Pain was in financial pain. He says at one point, he had to borrow money just to take his kids to Burger King.
When you say you was broke, you had like $0 broke?
I had to borrow money to get my kids Burger King.
But T-Pain chose that name because of his hard childhood growing up in Tallahassee, and he stuck it out again. He's not as big as he was at his peak, but T-Pain's kept singing. He even won the first season of The Masked Singer. And now he's worth about $10 million. But losing track of your money is a problem as old as rap itself. And one of the rap's biggest financial disasters is also one of its first breakout stars. Number 3, MC Hammer. Stanley Burrell, aka MC Hammer, was on top of the world when his album Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em came out in 1990. MC Hammer was everywhere. He even had a Saturday morning cartoon. MC Hammer had an estimated net worth of $33 million, and the ways he spent it were as wild as you'd expect from the guy who made parachute pants famous. He bought a mansion and spent $30 million tricking it out. The place had a gold hot tub and marble statues, a movie theater, bowling alley, tennis court, basketball court, and baseball field. He had a swimming pool shaped like his signature Hammer pants, and another swimming pool shaped like a swimming pool. With a house like that, I'd never go anywhere. But MC Hammer had 17 luxury cars, 2 helicopters, a jet, and 31 racehorses. He was apparently addicted to modes of transportation. He went around with a 200-person entourage that cost him $500,000 a month. There was no way to keep that up. MC Hammer declared bankruptcy in 1996. He owed money to the hundreds of people, including stores, banks, limo rental companies, lawyers, utilities, and the IRS. And just when you think Hammer had kept his head down long enough, in 2011, the IRS came after him again for almost $780,000 in unpaid taxes, going back to 1996. Today, MC Hammer is estimated to have about $2 million, a far cry from where he was in the 90s. But spending too much is just one way a rapper can go bust. Number 2, DMX. DMX is the only rapper on this list to record 5 #1 albums and file for bankruptcy 3 times. His first album sold 250,000 copies in its first week. He'd end up selling 74 million albums over a 36-year career, but he never got stable enough to enjoy all his earnings. DMX had a rough childhood. He got addicted to hard drugs while he was still a teenager, and he'd been in and out of jail 30 times for different crimes. It's kind of a miracle he had time to rap. He also had 17 children with 11 different women, and that was one habit he couldn't afford. When DMX filed for bankruptcy in 2013, he owed $1.24 million in child support, and he only had $50,000 to pay with. He filed for bankruptcy again in 2016. This time, he owed more than $2 million. He said he didn't have any cash or cars, or even any furniture. Even worse, the IRS came after him for tax fraud. At this point, you knew that one was coming, right? This sad story has a sad ending. DMX relapsed and went to prison. He got out in 2019. 2 years later, he overdosed and died. DMX never wrote a will, so if he had any money, his 17 kids will have a tough time ever getting any. But let's move on from there to our number 1 story. Number 1, 50 Cent. Hardly anyone in the rap game has risen higher, fallen further, or come back stronger. I'm talking about 50 Cent. 50 Cent released his first major label album in 2003 called Get Rich or Die Tryin'. And one thing he can say is he did not die trying. He made enough off that album to buy a 50,000 square foot mansion from Mike Tyson for $4 million. The house had 21 bedrooms and 37 bathrooms. It came with all the necessities, like a racquetball court, a movie theater, and a disco. In 2010, 50 Cent was worth a cool $500 million. He'd gone into a bunch of businesses, earning close to $100 million promoting vitamin water and over $70 million licensing luxury underwear. Then in 2015, he filed for bankruptcy. How did that happen? Well, 50 Cent was a big spender. In an interview with The Guardian, he said, "If you don't want nice things in your life, I don't even want to know you." He drove 4 Chevys, a Rolls Royce, a Dodge Sprinter, a Suzuki, and a Bentley. But his biggest expense probably came from that house. 37 bathrooms don't clean themselves. It turns out he tried to sell it back in 2007. But remember 2007? T-Pain couldn't sell his houses, and 50 Cent wasn't going to sell his. Not all 50 Cent's businesses panned out either. 50 Cent lost money trying to start a boxing promotion, a movie production company, and a clothing line. But the knockout punch was a series of lawsuits. He feuded with Rick Ross. So he bought and released a sex tape of Ross's girlfriend. She sued him and won $5 million. Then he got sued over a failed deal to make headphones, $2 million. Oh, and he stole the headphone design from someone. Another lawsuit, $17 million. In 2015, 50 Cent owed $32 million and said he only had $23 million. When he filed for bankruptcy, he told the judge most of his cars and bling he showed off were borrowed. In the bankruptcy, he lost most of the rights to his own music, and he ended up suing his own lawyers for making such a bad deal. Since then, 50 Cent's been slowly paying off the rest of his debts, but he released a new album and produced other albums and some TV shows. 50 Cent is back up to $40 million. It's less than a tenth of what he had at his peak. But let's not lose perspective. It's a lot more than 50 cents. That's 16 rappers we just saw rise and fall, and sometimes rise again. I hope we've learned a few lessons, like don't let appearances fool you, and pay your taxes, and try not to get sued too much. But there are always more wild stories coming out of show business. In the next videos, we're going over celebrities who completely destroyed their careers in a matter of seconds. You will even recognize many of them, so click now to watch it. See you there.
In the world of rap, glittering chains and flashy cars are badges of honor. But behind the bling, some of the industry's biggest names have faced a stark reality: rapid financial collapse. Let's discuss the top 10 rappers who went from raking in millions to scraping for change. MC Hammer, born Stanley Burrell, skyrocketed to fame in the late 1980s with hits like You Can't Touch This, amassing a fortune that peaked at an estimated $33 million. Yet his wealth was as fleeting as the dance craze he inspired. Within just a few years, Hammer's fortune had evaporated, leading to a high-profile bankruptcy in 1996. The rapid financial decline of MC Hammer was due to extravagant spending. He famously splurged on a $30 million mansion with a reported 17-car garage, multiple swimming pools, and Italian marble. His payroll swelled with a 200-strong entourage, and his penchant for luxury items knew no bounds. Customized helicopters and flashy suits drained his accounts as quickly as they filled. But it wasn't just tangible luxuries that depleted his wealth. Hammer ventured into numerous ill-fated investments, including a record label and a horse racing stable, neither of which turned the profits he had hoped for. His generous nature also played a role. He was known for his philanthropy and support of friends and community, which, while noble, further strained his finances. MC Hammer didn't fade away. He clawed back into financial stability through a mix of television appearances, including a reality show about his life, and savvy tech investments. Hammer embraced the digital age, investing in tech startups and becoming a fixture in Silicon Valley circles. He also found a niche in the entertainment industry as a consultant and a preacher, using his life story as a tribute to resilience and redemption. MC Hammer's current status is giving us the lesson that adaptability and determination to rebuild life, even after the most dramatic financial falls, can lead to a path of recovery and reinvention. Curtis Jackson, better known as 50 Cent, once boasted a net worth that was estimated to be around $155 million, thanks to his successful music career, the sale of his stake in Vitamin Water, and his various entertainment and business ventures. However, his financial empire began to crumble, and in 2015, he filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. 50 Cent's financial decline can be attributed to a series of misfortunes and missteps. He was famously ordered to pay $5 million to Listonia Leviston for posting a sex tape online without her permission, which was one of the catalysts that led him to bankruptcy court. Additionally, he faced a court judgment of $17 million related to a failed headphone venture. These legal battles, combined with other failed investments in industries ranging from mining to boxing promotions, put a significant dent in his fortune. His lavish lifestyle also contributed to his financial woes. Known for his love of opulent homes, flashy cars, and extravagant bets, 50 Cent's spending habits were as grand as his public persona. His Connecticut mansion, formerly owned by Mike Tyson, was an emblem of his luxurious lifestyle, complete with a nightclub and a casino. Luckily, 50 Cent has managed to stage a partial comeback. has continued to expand his footprint in the entertainment industry, particularly with the success of the television series Power, which he produced and co-starred in. He has also delved into the world of premium liquor and has continued to make strategic investments. His financial recovery is ongoing, and while he may not have regained his peak net worth, he has reestablished himself as a business-savvy entertainer. Lil' Kim, born Kimberly Denise Jones, rose to fame in the mid-1990s with her bold persona and barrier-breaking contributions to the hip-hop industry. At the height of her career, her net worth was estimated to be in the millions, bolstered by platinum-selling albums and successful tours. However, over the years, her financial status took a hit due to a combination of high living expenses, legal troubles, and tax liabilities. The lavish lifestyle that Lil' Kim was known for, which included designer wardrobes, luxury cars, and opulent homes, contributed significantly to her financial decline. The upkeep of such a lifestyle is expensive, and without consistent new income to match the outflow, it became unsustainable. Legal issues also played a role in her financial troubles. In 2005, Lil' Kim was sentenced to a year in federal prison for perjury and conspiracy, which not only resulted in legal fees but also impacted her ability to earn an income during that time. Following her release, she struggled to regain her previous success in the music industry, which further strained her finances. Moreover, Lil' Kim faced a hefty tax bill, with reports in 2018 indicating that she owed over $1 million in back taxes, a debt that accumulated over the years. This led to her filing for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, claiming debts of $4 million, which included her mortgage and legal fees. Even after that, Lil' Kim has not stepped away from the music scene. She continues to perform and release music, attempting to rebuild her brand and financial stability. Her legacy in the industry remains intact, and she's been working on various projects, including reality television appearances, to manage her financial recovery. DMX, whose real name was Earl Simmons, was a pivotal figure in the rap industry, known for his raw intensity and authenticity. At the peak of his career, DMX's net worth soared into the millions, driven by multi-platinum albums and sold-out tours. However, his financial stability was undermined by a series of legal battles, substance abuse issues, and substantial child support obligations. DMX's financial decline began in the early 2000s. Despite his success, his earnings were quickly depleted by legal fees from numerous arrests, ranging from drug possession to animal cruelty charges. These legal issues not only drained his finances, but also tarnished his public image, leading to a decrease in his earning potential. Substance abuse was another significant factor that contributed to DMX's financial woes. His struggles with addiction led to repeated stints in rehab and impacted his ability to maintain a steady career. The costs associated with treatment, coupled with the loss of income during these periods, further strained his finances. One of the most substantial financial burdens for DMX was child support. He fathered 15 children with multiple women, and the cumulative child support payments became overwhelming. Reports suggest that at one point, his child support liabilities amounted to hundreds of thousands of dollars, contributing to his bankruptcy filing in 2013. DMX continued to make music and perform until his untimely death in April 2021. Posthumously, his music still resonates with fans, and unreleased tracks have been issued, keeping his artistic legacy alive. However, his financial legacy remains complicated, with his estate facing unresolved debts and the ongoing management of royalties and future earnings. Bow Wow, born Shad Gregory Moss, shot to fame as a young rap sensation under the mentorship of Snoop Dogg and Jermaine Dupri. With his youthful charm and catchy lyrics, he quickly became a household name, amassing wealth that most teenagers could only dream of. At the height of his career, Bow Wow's net worth was estimated to be in the millions, bolstered by hit albums, movie roles, and merchandise sales. However, the transition from child star to adult artist proved financially challenging for Bow Wow. His financial decline became apparent in the early 2010s when he admitted to having cash flow issues, despite the public perception of a lavish lifestyle. The root causes of his financial troubles were poor management of his wealth and a failure to accurately estimate his living expenses. Bow Wow's situation was exacerbated by the high cost of maintaining a celebrity lifestyle, including luxury cars, designer clothes, and expensive homes, which were not always matched by his income. In a highly publicized court case regarding child support payments, Bow Wow claimed to only make $4,000 a month and only have $1,500 in his bank account, a stark contrast to the opulence he once displayed. This revelation was a wake-up call, highlighting the volatility of wealth in the entertainment industry. Bow Wow has worked to rebuild his career and finances. He's taken on television hosting gigs, such as the co-host of BET's 106 & Park, and has continued to act in various TV shows and movies. His participation in the reality TV series Growing Up Hip Hop has also provided a platform for him to share his journey and the lessons learned from his financial missteps. Young Buck, a former member of the hip-hop group G-Unit, found fame and fortune alongside 50 Cent and the rest of his crew. With the success of G-Unit's albums and his solo projects, Young Buck's net worth soared, and he enjoyed the trappings of a successful rap career. However, his financial stability began to crumble due to a series of legal and tax-related issues. The Tennessee rapper's financial decline became public in 2010 when the IRS raided his home for unpaid taxes. It was a dramatic fall from grace for someone who had once boasted a substantial net worth, earned from platinum-selling albums and lucrative concert tours. The main causes of his financial downfall were tax evasion and legal troubles, which culminated in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy filing in 2012. This was a stark reminder of the importance of financial management and the consequences of ignoring tax obligations. Young Buck's situation was compounded by his legal battles, including a contract dispute with G-Unit Records, which further strained his finances. His assets, including his name and intellectual property, were at risk, and he faced the possibility of losing the rights to his music. Even with these challenges, Young Buck has continued to release music and work on rebuilding his financial life. He's been candid about his struggles, using his platform to warn others about the pitfalls of financial mismanagement. His post-bankruptcy life has been a journey of redemption as he works to settle his debts and reestablish his career. Fat Joe, the Bronx rapper known for hits like Lean Back and What's Love, has seen the highest highs and the lowest lows in the music industry. At the peak of his career, Fat Joe's net worth was in the millions, thanks to successful albums, high-profile collaborations, and concert tours. However, despite his substantial earnings, he faced a significant financial decline due to tax problems and a penchant for a lavish lifestyle. The rapper's financial troubles became widely known in 2012 when he pleaded guilty to tax evasion for failing to pay income tax on over $3 million in earnings. This oversight led to a 4-month prison sentence in 2013, a stark wake-up call about the consequences of financial negligence. The main causes of his downfall were not only the unpaid taxes, but also his expensive lifestyle, which included luxury cars, jewelry, and other trappings of wealth that were not sustainable in the long run. Despite these setbacks, Fat Joe has managed to bounce back. He's been open about his past mistakes, using his experience to educate others on the importance of financial literacy. His current status is a testament to his resilience. He's continued his music career with new releases and has ventured into the business world with various projects. Fat Joe's ability to maintain a career in music while diversifying his interest into business ventures shows a mature approach to wealth and fame. His ongoing efforts to rebuild and maintain his career and finances demonstrate a commitment to learning from the past and making more informed choices for the future. Lauryn Hill, the revered singer, rapper, and former member of the Fugees, soared to fame in the late 1990s with her groundbreaking album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. At her zenith, Hill's net worth was substantial, bolstered by her album sales, tours, and her influence in the music industry. However, her financial stability took a hit due to a combination of tax evasion and a self-imposed hiatus from the music scene. Hill's financial decline became public in 2012 when she was charged with failing to file income tax returns for 5 years on over $1.8 million of earnings. In 2013, she was sentenced to 3 months in federal prison for these tax offenses. The main causes of her financial troubles were not just the evasion of taxes, but also her extended absence from the music industry, which significantly reduced her income stream. Lauryn Hill has made a concerted effort to return to music and address her financial issues. She resumed performing and releasing music, including a stint in prison where she penned new songs. Hill has spoken candidly about her struggles with the pressures of the music industry and her reasons for stepping back, which included preserving her mental and emotional health. Today, Lauryn Hill's status is one of a legend making a careful comeback. She's been settling her debts and working to rebuild her career on her terms, often performing at live events and festivals. Hill's story is a powerful reminder of the complexities that artists face in balancing their personal values with the demands of the industry and the law. Her journey highlights the courage it takes to step away from the limelight for personal well-being and the challenges of making a return. Method Man. A pivotal member of the Wu-Tang Clan, rose to prominence in the 90s with his gritty lyrics and charismatic presence. His solo career, coupled with his work with the Clan, brought him significant earnings and a peak net worth that placed him among the most successful rappers of his time. However, despite his success, Method Man faced financial decline due to a combination of tax issues and unchecked spending habits. In 2009, Method Man's financial woes became public when he was arrested for failing to pay New York state taxes, amounting to nearly $33,000. The rapper's financial decline was not solely due to his failure to pay taxes, but was exacerbated by his spending habits. He was known for his love of cars and a lifestyle that matched his hip-hop persona, which contributed to his monetary troubles. Method Man has also managed to turn his fortunes around. He ventured into acting, with notable roles in films and television series, which provided a steady income stream and helped him manage his finances better. His collaborations with other artists and continued music releases have also contributed to his financial recovery. Method Man's current status is that of a multifaceted entertainer who's learned from his past financial mistakes. He's spoken about the importance of being more financially savvy and the need for artists, especially in the hip-hop community, to be educated about money management. Exhibit, the West Coast rapper who gained massive fame in the early 2000s, not just for his music, but also as the host of the popular MTV show Pimp My Ride, experienced a significant financial downturn following the show's cancellation. At the peak of his career, Exhibit's net worth was bolstered by his music sales and television salary, placing him in the upper echelon of earning rappers. However, the end of Pimp My Ride in 2007 marked the beginning of financial troubles for Exhibit. The rapper had invested heavily in the image and lifestyle that came with his on-screen persona, which included luxurious cars and homes. These investments, coupled with a lifestyle that outpaced his income post-television, led to a rapid accumulation of debt. In addition to his lifestyle, Exhibit faced a series of bad investments that did not yield the returns he had hoped for. His financial situation was further compounded by tax liens, with reports in 2010 indicating that he owed over $900,000 in federal taxes. The combination of these factors led to a financial decline that was both rapid and public. Exhibit has worked hard to rebuild his financial standing. He's taken on acting roles, appearing in both movies and television series, which have provided a new revenue stream. Moreover, he's ventured into the business world with the launch of his own cannabis brand, capitalizing on the legalization movement in various states. Exhibit's current status is that of a rapper turned actor and entrepreneur who's navigating his way back to financial stability. While he's not yet reclaimed the financial heights of his early career, Exhibit's ongoing efforts to rebuild his life and finances show a commitment to overcoming past financial missteps and moving forward with new ventures. In the rhythm of rags to riches, these rappers' stories beat a cautionary drum about wealth's fleeting nature. But even as fortunes faded, the resilience to rewrite their financial futures remains a tribute to the enduring spirit of the industry. Remember, it's not how you start, but how you finish that truly defines your legacy.
Rap is all about flashing your cash, but that can go too far, really fast. The rappers on this list all prove you can lose it all if you spend too much cash. Why? They've all been foreclosed on. Keep watching to find out what happened. There are some surprising names on this list. Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy made it on Forbes Hip Hop Cash Kings list in 2010 with an impressive $7 million in earnings. But he was caught fake flexing when he claimed he'd spent $55 million on a private jet.
Private jet, Draco, stop playing the big jet, not the little one.
He later admitted that was a lie, but it was a while before anyone realized that. Not only did he not have anything like $55 million to spend on a jet, he was actually having some financial difficulty. He'd bought his first home in 2008, after his crank that had made him a star at just 17 years old. The two-story house was located in Atlanta, Georgia, and featured 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and 2 fireplaces. Not a bad purchase for an 18-year-old, but it wasn't gonna last. At the age of 20, the house was foreclosed on. So what happened? He just wasn't paying his taxes. At the time, he owed $30,000 in back taxes to the state of California. You never want to get on the wrong side of the IRS, but things have really taken a different turn for him as he now finds himself with a brand new place to call home in California. Soulja Boy got caught fake flexing, but the next person on our list had to have his mom bail him out. We'll leave you to decide what's worse. Juelz Santana. Juelz Santana had a pretty successful career, both as a solo rapper and part of a hip-hop group, the Diplomats, aka Dipset. But the group might be wishing they'd never got involved with him. He had more than his fair share of run-ins with the law, starting in 2011 when his recording studio was raided by police. They found 2 loaded guns, and that wouldn't even be the last time a gun would get him in trouble. In 2018, he ran out of Newark Library International Airport when the scanners picked up an unlicensed gun in his carry-on luggage. He claimed he forgot it was there, but can you really forget you've got a gun that doesn't belong to you in your suitcase? Either way, trying to bring a gun onto an airplane is a pretty serious offense, and he was in jail before he knew it. What does this have to do with this foreclosure? Well, while he was in prison, he was told his condo was being foreclosed on because he'd missed a year of mortgage payments.
You know, and so if I could explain it, the house actually did get on foreclosure, but it had nothing to do with me.
On the bright side, the condo's value had significantly dropped since he'd bought it, so it was kind of for the best. But on the flip side, he found himself in a situation where he couldn't even seek shelter at his mom's place. Surprisingly, she had actually used her house as collateral to assist in paying off his hefty $500,000 bail. The next rapper on this list also got on the wrong side of someone, but it wasn't just the law that had beef with him. The Game. West Coast rapper The Game is a big fan of flashing his cash. Loads of you will already know about his collection of classic cars, but his mansion was even more impressive. Sources disagree about how much he paid for it. It's somewhere between $1.5 and $1.9 million. The 4,000 square foot mansion had 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a sauna, a pool, and a private tennis court. So what happened to it? Well, 2 things. Firstly, the mortgage on a house like that is pretty pricey. It was costing a whopping $5,000 every month. But the house wasn't the only thing he needed to pay back. He also owed money to fellow rapper 40 Glock. Why? He'd beaten up 40 Glock outside his home while recording it, so everyone knew he'd done it. When 40 Glock sued him, it was a pretty open and shut case. So The Game tried to get it all brushed under the rug by asking 40 Glock to settle the matter in exchange for just $70,000. Obviously, 40 Glock thought it was pretty offensive, and he filed a lawsuit against The Game.
He did it as an entertainment purpose. You know what I'm saying? So if it's an entertainment purpose, hey, I'm an entertainer. I get paid to entertain.
In court, the judge ordered The Game to pay $4.5 million in damages to 40 Glock for the assault. Now, there was no escape. The Game's home was foreclosed on to pay off some of his mounting debt. We don't know what happened to the rest of it. The Game sure knew how to create problems. Weirdly, the next person on this list actually got off the hook for a moment. Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim actually got lucky in the story, but she didn't exactly capitalize on her luck. That's not surprising, I guess. It doesn't seem she's good at capitalizing on anything. Still, what happened?
I'm owning it, and that's what you gotta do. Own it, honey. That's what it does, girl.
Well, like a lot of rappers, she wanted a flashy home. So she bought a mansion in New Jersey for $2.3 million. That would have been great if she didn't find herself in serious debt. She owed money to more than one company, totaling over $4 million. $1.8 million of that was back taxes, which she hadn't paid. And actually, she couldn't pay any of it back. When she missed a mortgage payment on her house, she quickly filed for bankruptcy. Lucky for her, instead of ordering her home to be repossessed, the judge took her side. She was allowed to keep her home as long as she got her debts in order. She couldn't stick to her part of the bargain. It wasn't long before she missed another payment, and this time, the house was foreclosed on. She didn't make the best of her lucky escape, but the next person created his own way out of trouble. Millionaire. Millionaire didn't get his house foreclosed on in a traditional sense.
There will always be risks associated with investing. It's just that some investments lead to a dead end and some might lead to a pot of gold.
He's clearly money smart, and he came up with a unique idea. The mansion in question was an impressive 2.3 million, 8,000 square foot pad located just outside Houston in the upmarket Woodlands neighborhood. But his dream life in that house never really happened. He was touring all the time, which meant he was never there. Then, to make things worse, the 2008 financial crash meant the value of his mansion dropped, along with the rest of his real estate market. He actually wasn't ordered to hand his mansion over, but he figured it wasn't really worth keeping it anymore. So, before he was foreclosed on, he handed his mansion over to the bank voluntarily. They sold it for $1.8 million, which pretty much cleared his debt without him having to do anything or show up in court. Sure, having your house repossessed is normally a bad thing, but Millionaire actually used it to his advantage. It seems he now has a new mansion. It's not quite as big as the last one, and it's not in such an expensive neighborhood, but it's still pretty impressive. What Millionaire did feels pretty smart. The next person on our list is kind of the opposite. DMX. DMX has actually had problems with more than one home. His problem started all the way back in 2001. He bought an old townhouse in Harlem, thinking he'd renovate the building. We can only imagine how spectacular he was picturing it becoming once he'd finished it. Only, it never worked out that way. It needed a lot more work than he expected. Every time he fixed one thing, another problem would appear. In 2008, he decided he couldn't justify the expense anymore, and he put it up for sale. Only, nobody wanted to buy it. It eventually went to auction, which DMX hoped would convince someone to take it off his hands. But even though he bought the house for $750 grand, it sold for only $120 grand. That's a loss of $630,000. You'd think that would be the last time he made that mistake, but it happened again. He almost owned a pretty cool 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 3,700 square foot Pueblo-style home 45 minutes outside Phoenix. It featured a sunken pool, an outdoor kitchen, and a giant cactus. Who wouldn't want that? He bought it for $575,000, but he missed mortgage payments on that property too. He was eventually forced to sell it at a loss for just over $447,000, but that's still not the only house he'd lost. When he was at his most successful, he bought a 3,600 square foot mansion in Westchester County, New York. But it's been causing issues for the rapper ever since. In 2014, he narrowly avoided the house being foreclosed on by somehow managing to pay back $200,000 in unpaid loans just in time. But it was only a few months before he ran into trouble again. He was forced to declare bankruptcy in 2016. At the court hearing the following year, he showed he was a whopping $2 million in debt. That included $1.7 million in unpaid taxes. Oops. The mansion was listed as one of his assets in the court documents. Records show that in 2019, he transferred the deed to the house to a corporation called Tasher Way, which creditors weren't happy about. They called it a scheme to help him keep the house without paying for it. Either way, it did seem to work. He sure didn't learn his lesson. The next person on this list didn't need to, because he had one smart idea. Nas. Nas has been at the top of the charts more times than most rappers on this list. In fact, he gets to #1 pretty much every time he releases a new album. That's added up to a net worth around $60 million last time anyone checked. But it hasn't saved him from losing his home.
I'm always fighting the dark. I feel like more recent in the last 8-10 years of my life.
In 2012, he'd missed so many mortgage payments that a judge ruled his house can be repossessed. The 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom house was located in Georgia. It was auctioned off for just $348,000, but that didn't even come close to bailing Nas out. Aside from the mortgage problem, he also owed a mind-blowing $6 million in unpaid taxes. Shockingly, he somehow paid it off and is back on his feet now. One of the smartest moves he ever made was investing in Ring, the doorbell company that was famously bought by Amazon for a whopping $1 billion. We don't know how much he made from that, but you can bet his finances are pretty safe now. One good investment can change your life for good. One dumb move can ruin it. Just ask T-Pain. If this list teaches you anything, let it be this important lesson.
Once you start rapping, It's just money all the time. Nothing's ever gonna happen bad. Nothing bad's ever gonna happen. Your family's not gonna come after you. Nothing's gonna happen.
If your bank tries to sue you for not repaying your debt, it's pretty important to show up in court. When T-Pain's bank filed a lawsuit against him, he didn't bother to show up. The allegation was pretty serious too. They loaned him $83,000 to buy his Palm Beach County, Florida house, which he never repaid. Including interest, he now owed them $117,000, which they weren't receiving any payments for. He might have got the judge on his side if he'd shown up to the court case. But without him there, a default ruling was made in the bank's favor. He must have regretted that, but at least it only happened once. The next rapper on our list can't say the same. Trick Daddy.
You know, society's in trouble, man. Is in trouble. I don't know what we gonna do.
Trick Daddy has been sued for foreclosure more times than the internet can keep track of. Back in 2010, the IRS came for the Miami-based rapper. They filed 3 liens against him, which added up to over $150,000, which he owed in back taxes. His 4-bedroom home in Richmond, Virginia was foreclosed on and sold off to pay off the debt. After that, he divorced his wife. You'd think that problem would have taught him a lesson, but it obviously didn't. In 2014, he found himself in trouble again, but this time, a repayment plan was accepted by a judge, which meant his new home was saved from foreclosure. But it didn't last long. He got into hot water again in 2017, but this time, he had a plan. He quickly filed for bankruptcy to keep his home. According to the court documents at the time, he had $0 in his bank account. However, he did have a few assets, including his $350,000 home in Miramar, Florida, which he purchased after his previous house was foreclosed on. He owed a ton of cash, including over $430,000 on his mortgage, $290,000 in back taxes, and $57,000 in child support, plus enough money on his credit card that he'd lost track of how much he actually owed. It wasn't looking good, with debts over $800,000, but because of the assets he did have, the judge threw out his bankruptcy claim. However, by that point, he had figured out that when he filed for bankruptcy, it paused the foreclosure process on his home. So, he just kept doing it. The last time the news had anything to say was in 2019, when he filed for bankruptcy again. This was the 4th time he'd done it. Every time, the case was dismissed. In 2012, the bankruptcy case he filed in 2019 was still ongoing, so I guess we'll have to wait and see if he gets to keep his house or not. Maybe that same mistake over and over seems like a weird choice, but the next person on our list made an even weirder decision. Lil Jon. Lil Jon was topping the charts in the mid-2000s, but that seems like a long time ago.
They gonna say that at my funeral. They gonna be like, he was a good man. Yeah!
While he had cash to spare, he bought a $1.9 million mansion in the Isle of Palms. But unfortunately, he also thought he could get away with not paying his taxes. But that all backfired in 2010. It turned out he owed $500,000 in back taxes. He tried all kinds of weird business ventures to help bail himself out. Weirdly, he tried to go into the wine business, something you don't see many rappers interested in. Then, he even started his own reality show about the winemaking industry. But it didn't exactly take off. That explains why his home was foreclosed on. Hopefully, he's doing a little better after joining that season of The Apprentice before Trump became president. Lil Jon's wine idea might not have worked out, but he sure did have an influence. The next person on our list was discovered by him, and seems to follow a pretty similar path. Lil Scrappy and Diamond. That's right. This is 2 rappers for the price of 1. And they would have loved being a 2-for-1 deal, because they were both broke. The rap couple, who aren't together anymore, were in the press for having their separate houses foreclosed on at the same time back in 2010. They both had homes in Atlanta, Georgia. Lil Scrappy had bought his 2,800 square foot home back in 2004 for just under $183,000. He was foreclosed on in 2010, partially due to the 2008 financial crisis, and partially because he couldn't pay his mortgage. But that's not a great story. The thing that got the media interested in his problems was actually an incident that happened to his then-girlfriend, Diamond. While she was on the set of Young Money music video shoot for Lil Chucky's new single, the Repo Men showed up, with all eyes on Diamond as they towed her car away. It was all caught on video, and obviously, the internet became pretty interested. It was shared far and wide, which made the media take a closer look. They discovered that Lil Scrappy was losing his house, and Diamond hadn't just lost her car, but her Atlanta home was being foreclosed on too. She bought it back in 2007 when she was still with Crime Mob. The double-story house had cost her $219,000, but she couldn't pay her mortgage on it. Just 1 month after Lil Scrappy lost his house, the bank foreclosed on her home too. They put it on the market for about half what she paid for it. The worst part is, they couldn't even just move in with each other because neither of them had a home. They ended up living in a cheap rental apartment together for a while before going their separate ways. They both lost their houses, but the value of those houses put together doesn't come close to the mansion that was lost by the last rapper on our list.
I'm already dead inside. So this little funny shit that I chose music, I'm not tripping.
Birdman. Birdman is a pretty controversial figure in the rap world. His label famously mistreated artists as important as Young Thug and Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's been pretty vocal about how Birdman wasn't just restricting his creativity, but also siphoning millions of dollars from Lil Wayne's Young Money record label, a subsidy of Birdman's own Cash Money label. Birdman used the money he took from his artists to buy the biggest and most expensive mansion on this list, a 19,000 square foot Miami mansion worth a whopping $14.5 million. The gigantic property also featured a movie theater, a private spa, and not just one, but 2 swimming pools. Does anyone really need 2 swimming pools? Especially when you need to steal from artists to buy them. And that's without mentioning the gold toilet he had installed, which cost him $2 million. Anyway, justice was waiting around the corner for Birdman. It turned out, even after stealing all that cash, he still had to take out a loan to buy the mansion. He'd also taken out a loan to buy a separate office space. In 2017, 5 years after buying the mansion, the bank filed a lawsuit against him. He defaulted on his loan repayments for the house and the office space, and according to the lawsuit, he now owed a whopping $12 million to the bank. The judge ordered him to leave the home, and the bank reclaimed it. It feels like justice was served. Rappers go broke all the time, but so do their producers. Want to know how one of the world's most famous and wealthy rap producers went broke, even after producing for artists like Jay-Z? We have the answers and all the juicy behind-the-scenes details for you right here.
In the high-stakes world of rap, fortunes are made as quickly as they're lost. Join us to learn the startling stories of rappers who soared to the heights of fame only to plummet into financial despair between 2020 and 2023. In 2020, Chance the Rapper, born Chancellor Bennett, faced a significant financial setback, a surprising turn for the artist known for his independent success in the music industry. Bennett, who rose to fame without the backing of a major record label, encountered a series of challenges that impacted both his finances and his career trajectory. Chance's financial troubles began to surface publicly when his highly anticipated The Big Tour was first postponed and then canceled. The tour, which was supposed to follow the release of his debut studio album, The Big Day, was expected to be a major revenue generator. However, the cancellation, attributed to personal reasons and later speculated to be due to low ticket sales, signaled potential financial distress. The situation was further complicated by a lawsuit filed by his former manager, Pat Corcoran. Corcoran, who'd been instrumental in Chance's rise to fame, sued for unpaid commissions and alleged that the rapper's unwise decisions and lack of focus on his music career led to declining revenues. The lawsuit, seeking millions in damages, highlighted the financial and professional strains between Chance and his management team. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic's onset in early 2020 exacerbated these issues. The pandemic brought the live music industry to a standstill, cutting off a significant income source for many artists, including Chance. The inability to tour and perform live, a major income stream for musicians, particularly those like Bennett, who operate outside the traditional music label system, added to his financial woes. Chance the Rapper continued to be a prominent figure in the music industry, known for his unique approach to music production and distribution. His experience in 2020 serves as a reminder of the volatile nature of success in the music industry and the need for continuous adaptation and resilience. In 2021, Lil Xan, whose real name is Diego Llanos, found himself grappling with financial difficulties, a stark contrast to the rapid ascent to fame he experienced in the late 2010s. Known for his hit Betrayed and a unique style that resonated with a young audience, Lil Xan's journey from a SoundCloud artist to a mainstream rapper was meteoric. However, his journey soon took a turn, highlighting the precarious nature of fame and fortune in the rap industry. Lil Xan's financial troubles became apparent through a series of personal and professional setbacks. One of the key factors contributing to his financial strain was his struggle with substance abuse, which he openly discussed in his music and interviews.
12 2 milligrams to 14 2 milligrams a day.
Addiction not only affected his health, but also his ability to maintain a steady career trajectory. The costs associated with rehabilitation and the impact on his ability to produce music and tour significantly dented his earnings. Additionally, Lil Xan faced challenges in managing his finances effectively. Like many young artists who suddenly found fame, Lil Xan appeared to struggle with the sudden influx of wealth. Reports and interviews suggested a lifestyle marked by excessive spending, a common pitfall for new artists in the industry. This lifestyle, coupled with a lack of financial planning and guidance, likely contributed to his monetary issues. The rapper's career also suffered from controversies and public disputes, including conflicts with other artists and issues with his management. These incidents not only harmed his public image, but also potentially limited his opportunities for collaborations and performances, further impacting his income. By 2021, Lil Xan's presence in the music scene had diminished compared to his peak years. His struggles with mental health, substance abuse, and financial management painted a picture of the challenges faced by young artists thrust into the spotlight. Fetty Wap, born Willie Maxwell II, faced significant financial troubles in 2021, marking a downturn in a career that once seemed unstoppable. Fetty Wap burst onto the music scene in 2014 with his hit single Trap Queen, which quickly became a platinum success. His unique sound and style brought him rapid fame and wealth, but just as quickly he encountered the volatility of the music industry. Fetty Wap's financial struggles were multifaceted. One major factor was his lavish lifestyle. Like many artists who suddenly find themselves with substantial wealth, Fetty Wap reportedly spent extravagantly on luxury cars, jewelry, and homes. This level of spending, while common in the industry, is often unsustainable and can lead to financial instability. Another significant issue was legal troubles and disputes. Fetty Wap faced several legal challenges, including lawsuits and charges that not only affected his finances, but also his public image and career opportunities. Legal fees, settlements, and the potential loss of income from missed performances and deals due to these legal issues compounded his financial difficulties. Moreover, the changing landscape of the music industry played a role. The shift towards streaming services and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on live performances affected many artists' income. For Fetty Wap, who had enjoyed immense success with touring and live shows, this was a notable setback. Fetty Wap's situation was further complicated by personal issues. Reports of disputes with record labels and management suggested difficulties in navigating the complex business side of the music industry. These disputes can lead to delayed or lost revenue, further exacerbating financial problems. By 2021, Fetty Wap's presence in the music industry had notably diminished from his peak years. He's working on new music and projects, aiming for a resurgence in his career. In 2022, G-Eazy, born Gerald Earl Gillum, encountered significant financial troubles, a surprising turn for an artist known for his smooth style and successful hits. G-Eazy's journey in the music industry has been marked by a series of highs, including chart-topping albums and singles, but this period brought to light the challenges even established artists can face. G-Eazy's financial issues were attributed to a combination of factors. One of the primary concerns was the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the music industry. Like many artists, G-Eazy's income was heavily reliant on live performances and tours, which were drastically reduced or canceled due to global lockdowns and restrictions. This sudden halt in touring revenue was a significant blow to his financial stability. Another contributing factor was G-Eazy's lifestyle and spending habits. Reports suggested that he maintained a high-cost lifestyle, including expensive real estate, luxury cars, and lavish parties. Such spending, while common in the industry, can quickly become unsustainable, especially when primary income sources are disrupted. Legal issues also played a role in G-Eazy's financial struggles. Legal battles and settlements can drain an artist's finances, and G-Eazy faced several legal challenges during this period. These issues not only affected his financial situation, but also had potential implications for his public image and future career opportunities. In addition to these external factors, there were indications of possible mismanagement of funds and investments. Navigating the complex financial landscape of the music industry requires astute management and financial planning, and any missteps in this area can have severe consequences. Despite these challenges, G-Eazy's response to his financial troubles was proactive. He continued to work on new music and sought ways to diversify his income, including exploring different avenues within the entertainment industry. In 2022, Iggy Azalea, whose real name is Amethyst Amelia Kelly, faced a series of financial challenges that marked a significant shift in her once soaring career. Known for her hit singles and distinctive style, Iggy's journey through financial difficulties provides insight into the volatile nature of fame and fortune in the music industry. Iggy Azalea's financial troubles began to surface publicly in 2022. Despite her early success, which included chart-topping hits and lucrative endorsements, Iggy encountered a downturn in her financial status. This decline can be attributed to several factors, both personal and professional. One of the key issues was the changing landscape of the music industry. The advent of streaming services and the decline of traditional album sales impacted many artists, including Iggy. Her music, while initially very popular, faced challenges in maintaining the same level of commercial success in a rapidly evolving industry. This shift resulted in reduced revenue from music sales and royalties, a primary income source for any artist. Iggy's financial woes were compounded by a series of costly legal battles and disputes. Legal issues, especially when prolonged, can drain an artist's resources significantly. For Iggy, these legal entanglements not only affected her financially, but also took a toll on her time and focus, diverting her attention from her music career. Iggy's lifestyle and spending habits also came under scrutiny. Maintaining a celebrity lifestyle can be incredibly expensive, and there were indications that her expenditures might have outpaced her income. High-profile lifestyles often involve significant costs in terms of housing, travel, and personal expenses, which can become unsustainable during periods of reduced income. In response to these challenges, Iggy Azalea took several steps to stabilize her financial situation. She continued to produce music, aiming to adapt her style to the changing taste of the audience. She also explored other revenue streams, including collaborations, endorsements, and appearances, diversifying her income sources beyond just music sales and performances. In 2023, Sir Robert Bryson Hall II, known professionally as Logic, encountered a series of financial difficulties that marked a significant shift in his career trajectory. Logic, a rapper renowned for his introspective lyrics and unique style, faced challenges that shed light on the complexities of financial management in the music industry. Logic's financial troubles became apparent in 2023, a surprising turn for an artist known for his successful albums and singles. The root cause of these difficulties was multifaceted, involving both professional setbacks and personal decisions. One of the primary factors contributing to Logic's financial distress was the changing dynamics of the music industry. The shift towards streaming platforms and the decline in traditional album sales affected many artists, including Logic. This transition impacted his revenue streams, particularly in terms of royalties and album sales, which had been significant contributors to his income. Logic's investments and business ventures played a role in his financial situation. Like many artists, Logic diversified his income through various investments. However, not all investments yield positive returns, and some of his ventures may not have performed as expected, leading to financial strain. Another aspect that contributed to Logic's financial challenges was his personal lifestyle and spending habits. The cost of maintaining a celebrity lifestyle can be substantial, involving expenses related to housing, travel, and personal luxuries. If not carefully managed, these expenses can quickly deplete financial reserves, especially during periods of reduced income. Logic took proactive steps to stabilize his financial status. He continued to create music, adapting his approach to align with the evolving taste of his audience and the new realities of the music industry. Logic also explored alternative revenue streams, such as collaborations, brand endorsements, and digital platforms to diversify his income. In 2023, Jonathan Porter, known professionally as Blueface, also faced a significant financial downturn that not only impacted his career, but also had profound effects on his personal life. Blueface, a rapper who gained fame for his offbeat style and unique lyrical delivery, found himself navigating a challenging financial landscape. The financial troubles for Blueface began to surface publicly in 2023. Known for his hit singles and viral internet fame, Blueface's journey into financial distress is a narrative that reflects the volatile nature of success in the music industry. A key factor in Blueface's financial downturn was a decline in revenue from music sales and performances. The music industry is notoriously unpredictable, with artists often experiencing fluctuations in income based on streaming numbers, album sales, and touring schedules. For Blueface, a decrease in these traditional revenue streams significantly affected his financial stability. Blueface's investments and business decisions played a role in his financial challenges. Like many artists, he ventured into various business endeavors to diversify his income. However, not all of these ventures were successful. The risks associated with these investments, coupled with a lack of substantial returns, contributed to his financial strain. Another contributing factor was Blueface's lifestyle and spending habits. The costs associated with maintaining a high-profile lifestyle can be substantial. Expenses related to luxury items, real estate, and personal entourage, if not managed prudently, can lead to financial difficulties. For Blueface, managing these expenses became increasingly challenging as his income streams diminished. Blueface took steps to restructure his financial situation. He focused on creating new music and exploring innovative ways to engage with his fan base. Blueface also sought to manage his expenses more effectively, making adjustments to his lifestyle to align with his current financial reality. In 2023, Rayshawn Lamar Bennett, known professionally as YFN Lucci, encountered significant financial struggles, compounded by legal issues that further destabilized his financial position. YFN Lucci, a rapper recognized for his distinctive voice and storytelling in his music, faced a tumultuous period that highlighted the complex interplay between legal challenges and financial stability in the life of a high-profile artist. YFN Lucci's financial troubles became apparent in 2023, a period marked by legal battles that had a direct impact on his finances. Legal issues, especially those that attract public attention, can lead to substantial legal fees, potential loss of income, and damage to an artist's brand, all of which can significantly affect their financial health. One of the primary factors contributing to YFN Lucci's financial difficulties was the cost associated with his legal defense. Legal battles can be expensive, requiring substantial resources to secure competent legal representation. For YFN Lucci, the mounting legal fees became a significant financial burden, consuming a large portion of his income and savings. YFN Lucci's ability to generate income through music and performances was affected by his legal situation. Legal challenges can lead to canceled shows, lost endorsements, and a decline in streaming and sales revenue. For an artist like YFN Lucci, whose livelihood depends heavily on those income streams, any disruption can have severe financial implications. YFN Lucci's situation was further complicated by the impact of his legal issues on his public image and brand. In the entertainment industry, an artist's brand is closely tied to their financial success. Negative publicity and public perception can lead to a decline in fan support, affecting everything from music sales to merchandising opportunities. YFN Lucci took steps to address his financial and legal issues. He focused on resolving his legal matters and sought to re-establish his career by engaging with his fan base and exploring new musical projects. Additionally, YFN Lucci worked on managing his finances more effectively, recognizing the need for a more sustainable approach to his spending and investments. In 2023, Azealia Amanda Banks, a rapper known for her sharp lyrics and unique musical style, faced significant financial difficulties. Banks, who burst onto the music scene with her debut single 212, has always been a figure of both acclaim and controversy. Her journey through financial turmoil in 2023 offers a glimpse into the complexities and challenges faced by artists in the modern music industry. Azealia Banks' financial struggles in 2023 were multifaceted, stemming from a combination of personal decisions, industry dynamics, and external factors. One of the key elements contributing to her financial issues was a series of investments and business ventures that did not yield the expected returns. Like many artists, Banks ventured beyond music to diversify her income, But not all of these ventures were successful, leading to financial strain. Another factor in banks' financial difficulties was the changing landscape of the music industry. The shift towards streaming and digital platforms has transformed how artists earn revenue. For banks, this meant navigating a new paradigm where traditional revenue streams like album sales and physical media were no longer as lucrative. Adapting to these changes required strategic planning and sometimes led to financial missteps. Banks' outspoken personality and public controversies also played a role in her financial situation. Her presence on social media and involvement in various disputes has sometimes led to a polarized public perception, which can impact an artist's marketability and ability to secure lucrative deals, such as endorsements or partnerships. Azealia Banks took several steps to stabilize her situation. She refocused on her music, releasing new material aimed at reconnecting with her fan base and generating income through streams and downloads. Banks also explored alternative revenue streams, such as collaborations and digital performances, adapting to the evolving nature of the music industry. Moreover, Banks worked on managing her finances more prudently. Recognizing the need for sustainable financial practices, she made efforts to cut unnecessary expenses and invest wisely. This period of financial difficulty also saw Banks engaging more with her fans, using her platform to share her experiences and music directly. In the tales of these rappers, we find a crucial lesson. Fame and wealth are fleeting, and financial wisdom is key. Their struggles highlight the importance of managing success responsibly. Despite their hardships, these stories also inspire hope, showing us that setbacks can be stepping stones to growth and reinvention.